Hello, my friends. Jenna here, recording a very special evening episode for you. I don't often record in the evening because my mind is at its best in the morning, and it's extra interesting that I'm recording this now because this is an episode about beginnings, the dawn, right? Remembering, awakening, all of that. But, evening, morning, it's all a cycle, right? And what's extra special about this evening is that it's a new moon. So a lot of beginnings happen in the darkness as well, right? We all grow in the womb. Often when we need to reset or reevaluate life, we do so after some time in quiet and solitude. The nighttime is where we can connect with our spirit through dreams. And so really, everything's a cycle and it's all connected. And I want to wish you a happy new moon. And because I have the Chani app and I love her, I can track the moon cycles pretty easily. And in case you haven't listened to my last episode, I follow astrology pretty closely. And this kind of relates to what I'm going to talk to today. I fully believe that our spirits are connected to the stars, right? And there's actual scientific evidence to suggest that humans have a connection to stardust. And then there's, of course, again, that Dakota belief of as above, so below, right? The life cycles that happen above happen in the earth as well. And it's pretty cool to think that our souls are connected to the stars. There's a reason we always look up. And so this evening of May 16th is the night of a new moon, specifically in the sign of Taurus, which what I've learned from Chani is a really good place for a new moon to be. It's very grounded, it's very practical. And so I'm wishing you, as I record this, all the answers that you need to live a healthier, happier, more connected life. That is my wish for you today. And also, to help make that wish come true, I'm going to share some of my own lessons as well as thoughts with you for how you can make that happen for yourself, for those you love, and for the world. And so the reason I called this episode Alive is because I want all of us to just be more alive again. And I think there are three big obstacles that are preventing us from really living, from really connecting with our own divinity, with our own magic, with our own spirit. And I'm going to list them for you now, okay? One, and this is the big one that I'm going to cover first, is this entertainment click culture that we're in. That's one of the biggest separators from us discovering and living in our own divinity and really coming alive again. The second obstacle is that we're still dealing with comparing ourselves with one another, trying to one-up each other, not really being aware of our actions or not caring about our actions and how they influence other people, or thinking that our actions and our meanness towards others doesn't have a ripple effect, because it absolutely does. And so the second thing is just having an awareness of the things that we do to try to one up rather than connect and encourage. And then the third obstacle, I think, to us truly living and connecting with our divinity is that we're not aware of it. We're not aware of how to see what we are truly capable of, the magical things that we're truly capable of as human beings. I think humans are often portrayed as the monsters of the world because many humans have been monsters, right? When you watch a lot of movies, humans are the problem, right? Whether that's environmental destruction, whether it's being sort of these primitive creatures, right? Like you see that even in the Avengers, humans are seen as these primitive beings. There's very few movies where humans are portrayed in a positive, heroic light. And although we have caused a lot of destruction, I think if we keep pushing the narratives of how bad things are, because even look at the stories that are out there, There's so many stories of the horrors that human beings have committed. And again, it's good to be aware of those things. It's good to be aware of our history. But number one, the victims of that horror don't want to always be known as victims, right? They want to be known for who they are. They want their true stories about who they are beyond the trauma that was inflicted on them, right? So we've got victims who don't always want to have those kinds of stories told. But also, if we keep telling stories where we're the monsters, that's what we're going to start to believe about ourselves. We need more stories of heroes. We need more stories of connections. We need more stories of human beings using their gifts, abilities, intelligence, powers of connection to help each other and help the earth. And you all know where you can find some of those stories, right? Many of which are for free. www.lovingcreatively.com, created by yours truly. But I'm not the only one, okay? There are other fantastic stories out there, but we need more of them. Okay? So I'm just going to cover a few of these things, the things that, grab our attention and why and how bad it is. The need that we still have to one up at each other and tear down those who are confident and encouraging, but also just needing to remember ourselves, needing to remember our own divinity, and to explore and create stories and art that show the incredible things that humans are capable of. So let's dive in further. Let's begin. I'm going to try to keep this as brief as possible, because this first one, when it comes to attention, is something that I think a lot of people are already aware of, but I do need to add a couple of my own thoughts to this. So what I'm talking about is like the TikTok culture, right? The scrolling, the Instagram. I just recently got an Instagram because I'm trying to support my husband. Oh, forgive me, that beep. That's my daughter's medical alert. She's okay. I just gotta acknowledge it. Okay. Sorry about that. I just recently got an Instagram because my husband is starting this this channel called Just Rexin' Around, and I highly encourage you to follow him. It's fantastic. He has a dinosaur puppet, and he does little voices and little skits with his dinosaur puppet. He's a comedian, and so this is kind of a way for him to show sort of like a small fraction of his comedy. Okay, so Just Rexin' Around. And so now that he's exploring this on Instagram, like I hardly ever go on there. I think I have like 7 followers because I don't post anything. But I see how quickly Instagram tries to just feed you another story just without thinking. And, my husband experimented with doing one of those commentary videos just to see if it would catch the algorithm. Like, he's trying to kind of do some tests about like what will promote his channel. And he's like, Jenna, the dumbest videos I make are the ones that get the most viewed because it's quick, because it's candy. And he tried making a commentary video and he just said, I don't like this. It felt mean. It felt like I was kind of being a bully because I was commenting on what this guy was doing and I wasn't using any of my brain to do it. So I'm not going to make that video again. And sure enough, like I explored a little bit further, and it's like it's just constant feeding the things that are contributing to the dopamine hits, one video after another. It doesn't require thinking, it just requires reactions. And we live in a very reactionary culture, right? Where people don't necessarily try to get out in front of things. People don't think critically through things. They just react without thinking, which often leads to misunderstanding, to very surface level thinking, and the inability to dive deep and come up with creative solutions. And so although like I'm talking about, some of the damage that social media has done, I think it can be used for good things too, right? Like I'm on a podcast platform, right? Like that's a form of media. My husband has his Just Rexin' Around channel, but he's like, you know what? I'm going to go back to doing like the real comedy. And although the stuff that he's doing isn't necessarily deep or profound. It's cute. It's funny. It can make everyday life a little bit easier, you know. He's trying not to feed into some of this just reactionary stuff. But with reactionary things in general, like I'll just tell you, you know, from my own experience as a parent and as a teacher, this scrolling culture, this next click culture is ruining our country and ruining the world. I had so many students, and I've seen it with my kids, struggle to focus because their brains are being trained to just be fed entertainment all the time. They're losing their ability to connect with each other, to connect with real knowledge, and to sustain their critical thinking abilities. And children are the future, right? So if we're raising a bunch of kids who can't think, who can't come up with creative solutions, well, what does that mean for the world? I think my generation, I'm 37, almost 38, is one of the last to grow up without smartphones. And all the science will tell you that smartphones, you know, especially connected to social media, can do a lot of damage to young minds. So this is just a reminder that the stuff is killing our attention. It's killing our ability to think critically. And the solution's pretty simple, right? Delete the social media that you're not using. Put limits out there for your kids. Don't allow them to have certain social media apps when they're young. And have intentional time where the screens are gone. Where you've just got them. You know, you've taken the phones. And do the same for yourself. Instead of taking your phone with you in every room, leave it. Leave it for a couple hours. A simple one that I do every day is I choose not to take my phone with me on walks. Like I leave it at home. Separate yourself a little bit when you can so that you can connect with your own mind, your own spirit, and each other. Something we found with our kids is that every time we take the phones away for a while, they become more playful again. Like they actually start acting like kids again. In that they'll like giggle with each other and stuff, right? We have preteens giggling, which is, you know, technically like uncool or whatever, but it's like they're experiencing genuine joy because they're pulled out of that electronic world where they're just addicted and reacting to things. Group chats are the bane of my existence. Also, we have to stop with the group chats. It's especially big in teen culture, right? Where there's multiple teenagers just putting whatever and it goes boom, 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 boom. Like my kids are going off, their phones are going off constantly. So just be aware of the group chats. Unplug from those if you can, because that's constant feeding, reacting, anxiety inducing. So this is kind of about little habits. We have a bigger problem with technology, right? That's going to require more of a collective effort to solve, but we can begin with these little habits, right? Where we just intentionally unplug. And I can tell you, as a former educator and as a scholar, that this is fucking up our brains. And it is fucking up our ability to think critically. So there's that first piece. So in order to just feel alive again, first we have to unplug, even if it's uncomfortable at first. Take it in stages, and we have to help our kids unplug because a lot of them don't know how, and a lot of them are addicted, and it is affecting their ability to learn and connect. So we feel alive again by unplugging. So the second thing, this comparison piece. I have a 14-year-old daughter, and it really saddens me to see that people are still trying to tear other people down. And girls are still trying to tear other girls down. Now, I don't just blame the girls because they were all taught that behavior, right? They were taught that behavior either by their parents or by the collective culture, right? If you go back to my I Am Angry episode from a few episodes ago, I talk about how women were conditioned to compare each other, right? In many of the movies that we see, there's only one woman in the room, and they don't let women talk to each other. Even in movies where they've got some pretty strong female characters, well, great, there's only one. And if there's a second one, they probably don't talk to each other. These stories are still being told. So I don't just blame girls. And this is where I think the movie Mean Girls went really wrong. Okay? The original Mean Girls, the one with Rachel McAdams and Lindsay Lohan, that came out when I was in 10th or 11th grade. right? So like it was a huge cultural phenomenon when it came out. And it's a funny movie, like I'll give it that. But now that I'm an adult and I can look back on it, it's like that movie was such a huge hit to the point where it's still around. They did a remake. People are still talking about it. It's still a thing. But it's like in that movie, the girls are the one who are being lectured and criticized for being mean to each other, right? Like the movie ends with them getting a big lecture of how they treat each other. Okay, fine. They did need to have a conversation, but who taught the girls to act like that? You can't just blame the girls. We have a culture where girls are conditioned to compare their bodies, compare their minds, compare their abilities, to always think that they're not enough. And now we're going to blame them for adopting that culture? I don't think so. So collectively, we need to work on that. We need to look at the true heart of where these comparisons came from, right? And they were started by sexism, they were started by the patriarchy, but they're also pushed by the consumerist industry, right? Whether it's makeup, clothes, all of that. People want our money, and so if you're the best looking one, well, you're going to buy more of that. Or if you're not the best looking one, well, you're going to buy more to try to get there. So we need to step back and look at who's really responsible. But from the things that we can control, this was inspired by some things I've seen my daughter go through, because unfortunately she's been getting bullied lately, meaning my daughter is very encouraging. She's one of those people who's just nice. She's also confident and has a pretty strong drive. I know you probably can't imagine why, right? But like she's somebody who very young I raised to have a voice and to be kind to others. I hear her on her sports teams, cheering for other people, trying to keep the energy up. And in more than one case, she's been cyberbullied, meaning like there were girls who took screenshots of her encouraging messages and then posted them with the side eye emoji or other disparaging comments online to mock her positivity and encouragement. And today, as she was cheering at a game, someone just straight up told her that she sucked and was so annoying for cheering. And these are just a couple examples that have hurt her. And I've had to have conversations. And these are other girls doing this to her. My daughter is also the one who will bring things to share with the team. She'll bring her own snacks that she bought with her own money, and she wrote cards for everyone at the end of the season. Like she's a nice person. She's a confident person. She's an outspoken person, and she's getting ripped apart for it. And it breaks my heart because she doesn't deserve that. And I know she's not the only one. We have to teach each other, especially our daughters, to respect each other. Why are people still attacking the kind one? Why are those who are trying to do good in this world attacked and torn down for it and criticized? It's so easy to be negative. It's so easy to point at someone else and go, oof, wow, they're terrible. Look at them. It's so easy. It doesn't take any effort. It doesn't take any bravery. It doesn't take any critical thinking. It's not hard to make fun of someone, unfortunately, and to mock someone. But it is gross. And it is still a problem. The most successful people, like genuinely successful, are those who root for their friends, are those who've learned from people, because that's the other missing piece. When we compare ourselves to others, we also are missing what we could learn from them. I can feel envy. I can relate to it. I have things that I'm envious of. When it comes to both women and men, I have things that I am envious of. But thanks to, people who I've studied and like the things that I've read, I've learned, and maybe it's Mel Robbins. I think it might be Mel Robbins who talks about this, that if you're envious of someone, that can teach you something. Yeah, it is Mel Robbins. If you see something someone else can do or something else that they have, well, that's a clue that you can do it too. And you can learn from them. Learn from them. Cheer for them. Everything that we put our energy into comes back to us and builds culture. Okay, so when you have teams or you have friendships where people are just comparing and knocking down those who are trying to raise everybody up, what kind of a culture does that create? Encouraging people genuinely helps us too. We're putting our energy into lifting up others, and in the process, we're being lifted up too because we're being willing to learn from them. Why would you bully the person on the team who's trying to bring everyone together? I can't understand that. So for those of you with daughters, sisters, cousins, anybody, encourage the girls in your life, right? Encourage the girls. Point out their strengths. Teach them to do the same. Teach them to value each other, because I do think that some of this bullying, not all, but some, is still a product of the patriarchy, is still a way to kick women down. Because boys certainly aren't, as criticized for being outspoken, for being encouraging, for being leaders. You don't see it as much. I know bullying happens to all genders, but you don't see it as much. If you have daughters, teach them to value each other. If you have sisters, or even just if you know girls, if you have some influence in a young girl's life, teach her to value her fellow females, to encourage them, to learn from them, to build them up. Because you know what? While I was also sitting at this game, I heard some things that were concerning. I heard one parent say, oh yeah, my daughter cared more about the face paint than the actual game. Well, that's middle school girls, right? No, it's not. It's not all middle school girls. And if she wants to put paint on her face, great, good for her. But why are we putting girls into boxes? Why are we just categorizing them? I also saw some girls confused about the next play. This is flag football, by the way. Confused about the next play that they were doing. And I heard a mom go, well, that's girl math for you. No. We can't be saying these things. These demean girls. They paint them as stupid. Girls are capable of doing math. They had a momentary moment of confusion. And I can tell you from having sons as well as observing boys, they are confused, even in sports, plenty of times. Getting confused over a play is not girl math. It was a moment of confusion. So we also have to stop with these labels. So another way that we can be alive again is just to encourage each other, to learn from each other. And this is a reminder to all adults too. Don't pull each other down. If you're envious of somebody, learn from them. If you see somebody who has strengths, call out those strengths in an encouraging manner. Build them up, and you will find that you'll begin to feel better about yourself, because it takes strength, it takes courage, it takes powerful vulnerability to compliment and encourage another human being. And I promise you, and I can tell you this from direct experience, that when you take the time to get to know your own gifts, you will be that much more encouraged to lift others up, because there is nobody else out there like you. Stop comparing yourself and knocking other people down, and instead get to know who you are. And there's plenty of ways to do that. There's all kinds of meditation apps, but also explore some spirituality. Download the Chani app. Look up your birth chart. See what that says about you and what your gifts and challenges are. Pay attention to what you like. Pay attention to where your heart is drawn. Your soul knows you, my friend. Your soul knows you. Allow it to speak to you. And instead of looking at other people and ripping them apart, look at yourself and realize that despite what the world has taught you, you are gifted. You have power. You are intelligent. You have experiences that you can use. I don't care what those experiences are, because as somebody who spent a lot of time buried in shame, I can tell you that I've learned how to transform that shame into resilience, into truth, into an examination of the toxic and helpful things in culture. Whatever your experiences are, all of them, especially the things you see as failures, those can be fuel for your future success. Get off the internet. Stop looking at other people and ripping them apart. Look at yourself. Get to know your own strengths. Teach your kids to do the same thing. And we will all be better for it. We are all better when we see the ways that we can connect and uplift rather than rip apart, compare, and push down. Because I think we all know the people who choose to demean and mock other people are miserable inside. They'll never admit it to themselves, but they are. Remember your gifts. And that actually brings me to our final piece of our divinity. And to help you understand this, I'm going to read a little excerpt from the Book of Awakening by Mark Nepo, because this story really spoke to me because I've lived it. So I'm going to read you this excerpt. It's brief. Stay with me. And then I'm going to tell you how I've discovered this for myself and encourage you to do the same on this lovely evening of the new moon. Perfect timing, right? So Mark begins this little essay with a quote by someone named Orist Bedri. I'm not sure if I pronounced that name right. But the quote says, "To know God without being godlike is trying to swim without entering water." And here's what Mark has to say. "Underneath all that we are taught, there is a voice that calls to us beyond what is reasonable. And in listening to that flicker of spirit, we often find deep healing. This is the voice of embodiment calling us to live our lives like sheet music played. And it often speaks to us briefly in moments of deep crisis. Sometimes it is so faint we mistake it for whisper. We mistake its whisper for wind through leaves. But taking it into the heart of our pain, it can open the paralysis of our lives." I'm going to read that again because I kind of jumbled my words a little bit, but it's also really important and you need to sit with it, okay? This is the critical thinking part I was talking about. Sometimes, going to back up a little further. "Underneath all we are taught, there is a voice that calls to us beyond what is reasonable, and in listening into that flicker of spirit, we often find deep healing. Sometimes that voice is so faint we mistake its whisper for wind through leaves. But taking it to the heart of our pain, it can often open the paralysis of our lives." So what this means is, when we listen to that voice inside, when we allow it into our pain and into our everything, it can help us move again. So that was me, but going on to what Mark said. "This brings to mind the story of a young divinity student who was stricken with polio, and from somewhere deep within him came an unlikely voice calling him to, of all things, dance. So, with great difficulty, he quit divinity school and began to dance. And slowly and miraculously, he not only regained the use of his legs, but went on to become one of the fathers of modern dance. This is the story of Ted Shawn, and it is compelling for us to realize that studying God did not heal him. Embodying God did. The fact of Ted Shawn's miracle shows us that dance, in all its forms, is theology lived. This leads us all to the inescapable act of living out what is kept in, of daring to breathe in muscle and bone what we know and feel and believe again and again. Whatever crisis we face, there is this voice of embodiment that speaks beneath our pain ever so quickly. And if we can hear it and believe it, it will show us a way to be reborn. The courage to hear and embody opens us to a startling secret, that the best chance to be whole is to love whatever gets in the way until it ceases to be an obstacle." Now, this is really profound, right? Part of the reason he writes these little essays is so that you can think on them. And that connects directly to my original first point of we have to think again. Part of how we come back to life, part of how we discover our own gifts and stop comparing and discover ourselves is to give ourselves the space to think. I've heard Jay Shetty talk about how we're so conditioned to get to the end of things, right? People often flex. I hate this, by the way. People flex about how many books they've read in a year. And as an English teacher and an author, people need to stop doing that. At the end of the year, I see so many people post on social media about how many books they read. Now that's great. I'm glad you're promoting reading, but also, what did you learn from those books? Or did you just speed through them so fast that you just lost sight of it, that you don't even know what you read? You just wanted to read them all so you could post about reading them all. My students would get annoyed with me sometimes when I was a teacher because we would read books so slowly. But the reason we did that is because books are not meant to be sped through. There's wisdom in those pages, especially novels. The author didn't just write the book for the end. They have a message for you that's embedded in that entire story. So another thing Jay Shetty talks about is instead of, and he might be quoting someone else too, I think he is, but it's his paraphrase that I remember. I don't know who originally said it, but he says, instead of reading an entire book, read one paragraph and try to live it. And I couldn't agree with that more. And the part of this essay that stood out to me from Mark Nepo's work is when he said, studying God did not heal him. Embodying God did. Now, I actually wrote that quote down and taped it right outside my bathroom door. And I go to the bathroom a lot. Like, just to get really real with you, I have IBS, and I pee a lot because I drink a lot of coffee and water. So I'm in and out of the bathroom quite a bit. And I see it on my way in and out all the time. Studying God did not heal him. Embodying God did. And the reason I put that there is because it sends a very strong message to us humans. We are divine. And in connecting with our own divinity, with our own magic, we heal ourselves, we heal each other, and we heal the earth. I'm going to say that for you again, because it's true. When we connect with our own divinity, we heal ourselves, we heal each other, and we heal the earth. My friends, you are godlike. And I don't mean that in the selfish, conquering, I'm better than you way. I mean your divine spirit. Your divine spirit that was meant for connection, for healing, for life, for love. Connect with that. And I can relate to it directly. When I took time to unplug, because I've spent a huge portion of my life struggling with perfectionism, for performing for the systems that I was inside, for hammering myself in the head, not literally, but mentally, when I would make a mistake. I struggled for so long with perfectionism. I struggled for so long with performance, which I know that you listening out there do too. And I'm about to cry because I can feel it. There's some of you out there, I can feel you right now, struggling with perfectionism, struggling with performance. You don't have to anymore. You are so strong, you are so brave, you are so powerful, and you are not defined by the corrupt systems that you are inside. The way that we heal is by connecting with our spirit again. I've learned to do that. I've learned to unplug from perfectionism, to take risks of leaving a life that I had known, that I had established routines in, but one that was slowly killing my spirit. I am a teacher. But I was not teaching in the right place. I was teaching in a place that was suffocating me, where I felt like I had to perform. Wherever you're at now, the system you're at now might be giving you a glimpse of something that matters deeply to you. It might be some sort of sign of where you're meant to be, but you're just in the wrong house. You're in the wrong system. So whatever taking a moment looks like for you, and in my case, it took, quitting my job and quitting Christianity and studying new forms of spirituality, listening to my dreams, journaling my dreams. Everybody takes their own path. I'm not suggesting you go quit your job or walk away from everything, but I am encouraging you on this night of the new moon to take a minute to yourself, because you know more than you think you do. Your soul knows itself, and it's talking to you. It's telling you something tonight. It's telling you where you belong and who you belong with. And although growth is painful, it's vulnerable, it's also powerful. It's where life begins. Connect with your own mind again. Connect with your own spirit. Discover your own divinity. Humans are magical. And I'm calling out to all of you who already have connected with that, too. Thank you. Thank you for taking the time to get to know yourself, for all the good that you're putting out into this world. All of you are capable of it. All of you are stronger and braver and more magical than you know. Take the time to connect with your own divinity. And I'm going to make some recommendations for you. A lot of the figures who've helped me during this time that I've had of kind of being in a little bit of a cocoon are writers like Brene Brown, like Mark Nepo, like Jay Shetty. His book, Think Like a Monk, really straightforward way to kind of reconnect with yourself and gratitude and the earth. Chani Nicholas, You Were Born for This. Great, great book. Les Brown, he's got a lot of, I read his book, It's Not Over Until You Win. He's got some great wisdom in that book. Although he wrote it back in the 90s, there's still a lot of wisdom in there. He's the one who taught me that greatness, your path to success is more about becoming than it is achieving. Become the kind of person you can respect, and you will start to draw in that success. There's so many great folks out there writing books, creating things. Rick Rubin's, The Creative Act, A Way of Being. That's one that I revisited this year. Fantastic book, especially for artists, but I would recommend that book for anybody who's just trying to reconnect with their own soul, because we're all creators of some form. Right? That's partly why I named my website in honor of Trevor Noah, Loving Creatively, because in his book, Born a Crime, he describes love as a creative act, that when we love another, we create another world for them. And I wholeheartedly agree. I'm getting so excited that my words are just becoming their own separate language, because I'm trying to get it out so fast that I'm combining things, and I'm so excited to share this with you. But Rick Rubin, The Creative Act, A Way of Being, that is a fantastic book, and it's digestible. Some of his pages have just a few sentences, some are a little bit longer. He wrote it for artists, but also for people. It's a great book to read if you want to reconnect with your own divinity, your own purpose as a creator. And you certainly do not have to be an artist to be a creator. So these are just, if you're looking for some guidance, some places to start. And every single author, podcaster, creator that I've listed are all people who I've studied. They're all in one form or another. I have, an intimate connection with their work. So I can tell you this from personal experience. So those are really good places to start. And of course, Mel Robbins went viral. So lots of people have heard of her let them theory, right? But I've read that book too, and I highly recommend it because it's a great way to deal with the comparison issue. If you're really struggling with the comparison problem that I mentioned, that's a really good book to read to help pull you out of it. She gives some really practical tips for how to stop and what to do with your comparison, right? Because life isn't so easy as just stopping something. Usually we have to replace that something with something else. According to Mel Robbins, it's the let me part of it, but I'm also telling you the way to stop feeding, comparison is to discover your own divinity, right? I'm going to quote Mark Nepo one more time. Studying God did not heal him. Becoming God did. Or embodying God did. Happy new moon to all of you. I love you so much. And on this new moon, do something to honor your own divinity. Pull out your journal. Ask yourself a question. Teach your children or anybody who you have influence over to learn to love themselves, who they really are, rather than tearing people down. Teach your children to get away from their phones and look people in the eye and point out their strengths. That is one of the greatest gifts we can give each other, to connect again with our own divinity and with the divinity of others. Happy new moon, and thanks for coming.